GoFest 2025 is almost here in Pokemon Go, and there's going to be tons of amazing Pokemon to hunt. But which ones are actually worth focusing on? Well, in this video, I'm going to be covering the best Pokemon to hunt, along with many other helpful tips and tricks to get you guys ready for this 2-day event. Now, if you're still not sure if the GoFest tickets are actually worth it, I'd recommend checking out this video on screen. And then this one right here for the Go Pass Deluxe, which does contain the gold bottle cap. Now throughout this event, there's going to be a lot of potential for PvP Pokemon, so if you guys don't actually have that many built for the 3 main league formats, Great League, Ultra League, and Master League, you should definitely use this opportunity to grab some. One of the easiest ways to do that is going to be to use this search string on screen. You can check the rankings of your IV spreads on PvPoke using their battle simulator, and I'd encourage you guys to do this after day 1 and transfer anything that isn't good. That way you have more storage space available for day 2. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's take a look at the best Pokemon to focus on during this event, starting with the habitat rotations. The first habitat we're going to talk about is going to be the Moonless Volcano, so we have Houndour, which is going to evolve into Houndoom. I don't think this Pokemon is really that important, but I guess if you want to get candy for your Mega Evolution, that could be a reason to focus on it. We're also going to have Numel, which evolves into Camerupt, not exactly meta relevant either, but it does have a future Mega Evolution, so once again, it's really just if you want to power up the Mega, but overall I really wouldn't recommend it on either of them. Now, as far as a really good Pokemon to pay attention to, we have Duskull, which evolves into Dusclops in its second stage form, and Dusknoir in its final stage form. Now, when it comes down to Dusclops, this Pokemon is ranked at number 7 right now in the Open Great League, and then when it comes down to Dusknoir, this is ranked in the top 20 for the Open Great League, and it also ranks at number 6 in the Open Ultra League. Next up, we're going to have Golett, which evolves into Golurk. This Pokemon is going to be relevant in the top 80 for the Open Great League and the top 100 for the Open Ultra League. Following that, we're going to have Fletchling, which evolves into Talonflame. This will rank in the top 150 for the Open Great League and the top 50 for the Open Ultra League. When it comes down to Talonflame for the Open Ultra League, you actually want to go with the Hundo opposed to a typical PvP IV spread, so keep that in mind. You also want to have the Legacy Fast move Incinerate, and hopefully during this event we're going to be able to evolve to get this moveset for free. I mean, again, because they don't announce the special Legacy movesets ahead of time, we really have no idea if it will get access to this, but fingers crossed. Next up, we're going to have Flabebe, the Red Flower, which is going to be the rare shiny regional specifically featured in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So basically, if you don't live in those areas, you definitely want to pay attention to this flower. Next up, we're going to have Skrelp, and one evolve of this Pokemon will rank in the top 60 for the Open Great League and the top 40 for the Open Ultra League. Dragalge is actually pretty good, so yeah, pay attention to it. Next up, we're going to have Fuecoco, which evolves into Skeledirge, and even though this Pokemon did have a calm day earlier this year, you don't actually have to have the Legacy moveset Blast Burn. When it comes down to Skeledirge, this will rank in the top 150 for the Open Great League and the top 40 for the Open Ultra League. And then finally, we're going to have Carbink, which is going to be the new shiny debut during this event, and it's also going to rank really well in the Open Great League, currently in the top 30 right now. That pretty much covers the first habitat, and there's a lot more to go through, so let's take a look at the Galvanic Dojo next. So first up, we have Machop, which evolves into Machamp. This is really good for a lot of different reasons. The first being, as a Machamp, it's going to rank at the top 100 for the Open Great League. You can also use it as a budget fighting type attacker, and then finally you're going to want to farm the candy for the G-Max variant if you guys haven't actually maxed out those moves yet. Now, Machamp actually benefits from a trade evolution candy discount, or maybe I should say Machop does. So basically the best way to go about this is to mirror trade your high level Machop, and then you can just evolve them using 25 candy to go from Machop to Machoke, but then the evolution is going to be free from Machoke to Machamp. So for any new or returning players watching this right now, it's going to be a great way to build an easy fighting type raid team, and you don't have to really spend that much resources. Next up, we're going to have Electabuzz, which evolves into Electivire with a Sinnoh Stone. This will rank in the top 150 for the Open Ultra League, and it's also pretty good to use in the Electric type meta as a raid attacker. The next Pokemon is going to be Teddiursa evolving into Ursaluna. You can only do this during a full moon, but if you do happen to get a Hundo, this ranks in the top 70 for the Open Master League. We also have Scraggy, which evolves into Scrafty. Not exactly a great Pokemon to use in the Open Ultra League anymore, but I used to use this Pokemon all the time. I think with Power Up Punch, it is quite deadly, so I'm still going to recommend it. We also have Chespin, which evolves into Chestnut that does need the Legacy Charge move Frenzy Plant. This was a Calm Day exclusive moveset, and overall, Chestnut has gone up and down in the meta quite frequently, so even though it doesn't rank super well right now in the Great League and Ultra League metas, I'm still going to recommend this Pokemon as well. Next up, we're going to have Pancham, which evolves into Pangoro, ranking in the top 50 for the Open Great League and the top 50 for the Open Ultra League. This Pokemon does require you to catch 30 Dark-type Pokemon with it as your buddy if you want to evolve it, so I think it's going to be a good time to do it during this event if you guys do actually have the shiny or you get a good IV spread for PvP. Now during this habitat specifically, we're going to have the Flabebe, the Yellow Flower version. That's going to be the rare shiny regional from the Americas, so basically if you don't live live in America, make sure to be clicking on these ones. We're going to have Dedenne, which is going to be in the top 30 for the Open Great League, and then finally we're going to have Mienfoo, which is going to be the rare shiny feature during this habitat. The next habitat is going to be the Hypnotic Tundra, and that's going to feature Alolan Sandshrew, which evolves into Alolan Sandslash, ranking in the top 100 for the Open Great League and the top 100 for the Open Ultra League. We're going to have Swinub evolving into Mamoswine, which is going to be relevant as an Ice-type attacker in the Raid/Gym meta. We're going to have Spiel evolving into Walrein. This will need a double legacy moveset, Powder Snow and Icicle Spear, so hopefully we get these during this event. I kind of feel like we're not going to, though. In terms of meta relevance, this ranks in the top 200 for the Open Great League and the top 150 for the Open Ultra League. We have Piplup, which evolves into Empoleon, a pretty good Pokemon to use in the Ultra League meta, but you do want to have the legacy moveset Hydro Cannon for it. Same thing with Snover evolving into Obama Snow, decent to use in the Ultra League meta, but you also might want to farm Candy for the Mega Evolution, which is actually the best Ice-type Mega in the game right now. I don't think we're going to get anything better, and it's still not really like good compared to like all the other Ice types, but I guess as far as Mega Evolutions go, Mega Obama Snow is the GOAT. So yeah, thanks Obama Snow. And of course, just like the other habitats, we're going to have Flabebe, the Blue Flower, which is going to be the rare shiny regional from the APAC region, the Asia Pacific region. We're going to have Bergmaid evolving into Avalugg. This is going to be a decent Ice-type attacker to use in the Raid/Gym meta. It also ranks, I guess, kind of okay in the Ultra League meta as well. And then finally, we're going to get Frigibax, which evolves into Baxcalibur. That's going to be a new shiny Pokemon, and it's also going to be a good Ice-type attacker to use in the Raid/Gym meta, and it ranks in the top 70 for the Open Master League. So for anybody out there who is lucky enough to get the Hundo during this event, just know this Pokemon does have some nice play. Now finally, our last habitat is going to be the Fae Swamp. So first up we have Clefairy, which evolves into Clefable. This will have relevance in the top 100 for the Open Great League and the top 30 for the Open Ultra League. We're going to have Tentacool evolving into Tentacruel. Once again, top 100 for the Open Great League and then top 20 for the Open Ultra League. We have Mawile, which is actually somewhat good in the Open Great League, but not currently, so if you happen to get a good IV spread, I would just hold on to it. Next up, we're going to get Gulpin evolving into Swalot, which is ranked at the top 150 for the Open Great League. We're going to have Poplio evolving into Primarina, which ranks in the top 100 for the Open Master League, and it's also going to be a decent Water-type attacker to use. You do want to have the Legacy Charge move Hydro Cannon, though. Next up, we're going to have Marini, which evolves into Toxapex, ranking in the top 70 for the Open Great League. We're going to have Morlo, which is going to be Stardust boosted at 500 Stardust per catch. I'm pretty sure it's the only Stardust boosted Pokemon I saw. I could have totally missed the other ones, but I don't think I saw anything else that was Stardust boosted. So yeah, basically catch every single Morlo you do see. These guys do actually have a pretty tough catch rate, so use Raspberries if you have them. And then finally, we're going to have Togetic, which by itself ranks in the top 70 for the Open Great League, and then when you evolve it into Togekiss, it'll have Ultra League relevance along with Master League relevance, and it's going to be a decent Fairy-type attacker to use in the Raid/Gym meta. So we definitely have a lot of really good Pokemon to pay attention to from just the habitats, but we also have day-long encounters on both Saturday as well as Sunday, which feature a wide range of other really good Pokemon. So first up we have Chansey, which by itself is a great gym defender, arguably the best gym defender in Pokemon GO in my opinion, just because it benefits from that CP decay system. Blissey isn't going to be as good as Chansey when it comes down to gym defending, but it's still going to be like the number 2 option basically, because Blissey just has a massive HP stat. This is also why it's really good to use as a tank/healer in the max battle system, because it is just phenomenal. Like, even against Pokemon like Gmax Machamp, where it's supposed to take super effective damage, it still holds up better than almost everything else. So yeah, Blissey all around, especially Dynamax Blissey. Make sure you're clicking on every single one of these to farm candy on it, because you do want to max out that Dynamax Blissey to level 50 eventually. Okay, next up we're going to have Skarmory, which ranks in the top 200 for the Open Great League. Not exactly a super relevant Pokemon I'd pay attention to, but if you happen to get a good IV spread, I'd hold on to it. The next Pokemon is going to be Larvitar, which evolves into Tyranitar. This will be relevant in the Raid/Gym meta as a Rock-type attacker as well as a Dark-type attacker. As a Rock-type, you do need to have the Legacy Fast move Smackdown, so if you happen to see these, make sure to Pineapple Berry every single one of them. Following that, we're going to have Shieldon, which evolves into Bastiodon. This is going to rank in the top 50 for the Open Great League. One of the best Great League options you guys can go with in the entire game. It is a super extra large Pokemon build, which means you will have to farm 296 extra large candy on this guy, but hopefully, you know, throughout this event and maybe even in future events, you guys will have the chance to do so. This is definitely worth the investment. My Bastiodon is one of my favorite Pokemon to use. It is so tanky. The dual typing of Rock and Steel goes really hard. Next up, we're going to have Volibee, which evolves into Mandibuzz, another really good Pokemon to use in the Open Great League meta, currently ranking in the top 20 right now. It also ranks in the top 50 for the Open Ultra League. But I think for the Open Ultra League, you want to go with a Hundo rather than the typical IV spread for PvP. Kind of similar to Talonflame that we talked about earlier. We do have Oranguru next, which I didn't think was actually relevant, but it currently ranks in the top 100 right now for the Open Ultra League, so I guess don't, avoid that Pokemon Pokemon. And then finally, our last Pokemon is going to be Gumi evolving into Goodra, which is going to be relevant in the top 120 for the Open Great League, the top 100 for the Open Ultra League, and then finally top 80 for the Open Master League. So basically, Goodra is going to be good, it's just not going to be great at the moment, and there's also going to be a Hisuian version that is unreleased right now, so you might want to grab a good IV spread on an extra Gumi just for that variant as well, because it could end up becoming good once it is eventually released. Now on Sunday, we're going to have a wide range of different Pokemon, so let's take a look at those right now. So first up, we're going to have Galarian Farfetch evolving into Surfetch. This will rank in the top 200 for the Open Great League, so maybe not the best Pokemon to pay attention to, but to be honest, I haven't seen Galarian Farfetch featured in many events, so you might want to pay attention to this Pokemon in case Surfetch ends up becoming better later on. The next Pokemon is good though at the current time of making this, and that's going to be Cubone evolving into Marowak. It ranks in the top 40 for the Open Great League, so great Pokemon to pay attention to during this event. Following that, we're going to have Ralts evolving into Gardevoir, which is going to be great to use in raid battles as a fairy type attacker. You also have the Mega Evolution, which you guys can use if you guys have the energy for it. And of course, if you guys don't, just make sure to farm a bunch of candy because you're definitely going to need it for Gardevoir. You can definitely build a stacked out raid team if you just catch like really high level Ralts and then evolve them all the way up. It'll cost you like maybe 600 candy, but at the same time, not having to spend Stardust, having a solid team of fairy types, that's going to be pretty solid if you ask me. Ralts is definitely one of my personal favorites, so even though I already have a level 50 Hundo maxed out, and I already have a shiny 98 maxed out, I'm probably still going to be clicking on every single one of these just for that chance of that potential Shundo, right? We do also have the split evolution for Ralts, which is going to be Gallade, and this has to be a male evolution only. This Pokemon was ranked better in the Open Great League and the Open Ultra League, so while it isn't ranked of good right now, I would still recommend paying attention to it for a good IV spread, just because this does go up and down in the meta quite frequently. The same thing can be said for Carablast evolving into Escavalier. Now ideally you do want to trade this Pokemon first, because then you don't have to actually spend 200 candy to evolve it. Of course, the IV spread isn't going to be, perfectly optimal doing it this way, but if you want to save a bunch of candy, that could be really good. Or if you want to build up a bunch of trade evolutions, this could be really good for that reason as well. I believe Shelmet is also going to be featured, I think, on Saturday, so if you guys do want to actually pick up those as well, mirror trade all of them, and then you can trade them to get the free evolutions, which is going to be great to use during like a 2x Evolve Experience Spotlight Hour. Maybe not something you want to pay attention to or do during this event, because storage space might be more important, right? But definitely something if you guys do have the storage space for, I would hold on to. The next Pokemon is going to be Jangmo-o, which evolves into Como-o, and we just recently had a comm day for it, so I'm assuming most of you guys already got access to this Pokemon. But if you happen to miss it, or maybe you just didn't get a good IV spread for it, Como-o is good in the Open Great League and it also ranks in the top 80 for the Open Ultra League. But of course, you do want to have the legacy moveset Clanging Scales. I don't know if we're going to get access to that moveset during this event, but in worst case scenario, we can always evolve it during December to get this moveset for free. Following that, we're going to have Dyna, which evolves into Zuelis as its second stage form. This ranks in the Open Great League decently well in the top 200 right now. And then of course we have Dyna, which evolves into its final stage form, Hydreigon. This ranks in the top 100 for the Open Master League and it's going to be a great Pokemon to use as a raid attacker for the Dark types. Now with that being said though, you do want to have the Legacy Charge move Brutal Swing though for Hydreigon, which hopefully we do get access to during this event. And then finally we're going to have Pawniard, which just got access to its final stage form recently in Pokemon GO, which is going to be King Gambit. This ranks in the top 100 for the Open Master League, so not super relevant here, but the same thing could be said for Hydreigon. Overall, I would say this Pokemon is not exactly something I pay attention to as much, but you do technically want to get a good one just to have for that evolution, because it could end up becoming good in the future. Because this Pokemon was just released into Pokemon GO, there haven't really been that many move pool updates, or actually any move pool updates for that matter. That pretty much covers all the event Pokemon that are going to be featured in the wild, but if you guys do have any of these Pokemon in their shadow forms with frustration removed, I would strongly recommend double checking that in your Pokemon storage, just because if we do get the ability to evolve some of these with their legacy movesets, it's going to be a great time to get that done. We just recently had a Team Garaka takeover in May, so hopefully some of you guys actually did take advantage of this. Now over this weekend, we're only going to have two raids that I recommend paying attention to. Of course, it's going to be Zacian and Zamazenta. So if you guys actually purchase the event ticket, you will get 1000 energy on either of these two, depending on which path you end up picking for the special research. So make sure to factor that in before you actually raid a bunch of these each for their energy. Because, I mean, if you already picked Zacian for the special research, that's like 10 raids less you would probably have to do if you want to actually farm it. Now, of course, there is the argument that you want to farm a bunch of these raids for the extra large candy, and that's perfectly valid. Do as many as you want to, but if you're going to be doing limited raids during this weekend, just keep that in mind if you guys do happen to buy the event ticket. Now when it comes down to both Zacian as well as Zamazenta, they're both going to be tied for number 1 in the steel type attacker category for the raid/gym meta. Even though Zacian is a little bit better than Zamazenta in the Open Master League, I think both of these Pokemon are going to be amazing to farm. I don't think there's really a bad choice here. Now I do also want to mention, if you guys are going to be playing with others during an event like this, party up and actually, take advantage of that extra party play damage. It's going to make beating the raid bosses so much easier. I mean, it means more time to actually catch Pokemon, right, if you get the raid battles done faster. Now finally, one of the most important things we have to talk about in this video is going to be the best Mega Evolution for candy farming bonuses. This is a big decision. There is a lot going on, so let's go ahead and start things off with the habitats. For the Moonless Volcano, I think the best Mega, or I guess technically Primal, is going to be Groudon, because it's going to cover Houndour, Numel, Fuecoco, Fletchling, and Golett. Now for the Galvanic Dojo, I think any fighting type Mega is going to work here because most of the Pokemon, at least the most common one, is going to be the fighting types. So you have Machop, Scraggy, Pancham, and Mienfoo. The next habitat is going to be the Hypnotic Tundra, which again, I think any ice type Mega is going to be perfectly fine here because it's going to cover Sandshrew, Swinub, Speel, Snover, Bergmite, and Frigibax. And then finally, when it comes down to the Fae Swamp, I think any fairy type Mega is going to work fine here because it's going to cover Clefairy, Flabebe, and Togetic. I think Togetic is probably the most important one when it comes down to the XLs. Now I totally understand there's way too much going on with all this. It's going to be too much to manage throughout the event. So if you want an easy choice to just have active for the entirety of day 1 or day 2, Mega Lucario or Mega Blaziken are going to be my top 2 picks for day 1, and then Mega Altaria or Mega Diancie for day 2. You can use any combination of the Pokemon that I mentioned previously, but those are pretty much what I narrowed it down to. I think there's far too many choices for what you guys can go with when you factor in all the spawns, all the habitats, all the day-long spawns, and then of course we have the raid battles as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the most strategic way you could go about this is figure out what Pokemon you actually want extra large candy for, and then decide what Mega is going to be the most important for you during each of those habitats respectively. But overall, I think the most important extra large candy you guys can farm during this weekend is going to be on Zamazenta as well as Zacian, so if you're going to be doing raids sporadically throughout the day, having one of the Megas I just mentioned, like Mega Lucario or Mega Blaziken on Saturday, or Mega Altaria or Mega Diancie on Sunday, or like any other fairy type Mega, that's going to be the most important Pokemon you actually want to have active. If you're going to be focused on the raid battles. If you're going to be focused on the habitat spawns mostly, then that's a completely different thing going on there, but you can't be going back between the Megas too often because you do also need to have the energy for them. In which case, I guess if you don't have the energy for them, but you've at least Mega Evolved them once, make it your buddy right now, do a lot of walking before this event, and then get some energy that way. Otherwise, that's pretty much everything I have for you guys in this video. If you guys have any more questions about anything in regards to GoFest, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to be doing a Q&A video right before the event to answer anything that wasn't covered in these videos. But for right now, check out either of these videos on screen for more GoFest prep.